Time for business. Kate Moody is here, starting with the latest Boeing 737 MAX plane, which has been grounded around the world for nearly 2 years after two deadly crashes. What's the latest we have on it now?
Well, safety authorities here in the European Union and also in the United Kingdom have given the green light for the modified version of that plane to take to the skies again. The fleet was grounded in March 2019 after a second deadly accident, which left 346 people dead in Indonesia and Ethiopia. But U.S. producer Boeing still faces an uphill battle in regaining passenger confidence, as Claire Rush explains.
We have reached a significant milestone on a long road. The words of the European Union Aviation Safety Agency as it approved the revamped Boeing 737 MAX to resume flights in Europe. In a statement, the EASA said Boeing had responded to its demands on software upgrades, electrical rework, maintenance checks, and crew training, requirements that must be met for each individual plane before returning to service. The UK regulatory agency quickly followed suit. The approvals come after a nearly 2-year safety crisis. The model was grounded in March 2019 after two separate crashes killed 346 people. Investigators determined the cause of the crashes was a faulty flight control system. The EASA has mandated that the system be recertified and will require pilots to undergo special training. But critics, including a group representing the families of victims of the Ethiopian Airlines crash, say the EU green light comes too soon.
This decision was predictable, but we believe it is premature, untimely, and even dangerous.
The 737 MAX has already resumed service in Brazil, Mexico, Canada, and the US. But many consumers are still concerned that the model is unsafe. Public trust issues also stem from Boeing's close ties to the Federal Aviation Administration. The U.S. regulatory agency has been criticized for insufficient oversight of the aerospace giant, distrust that could continue to taint the brand.
Well, meanwhile, Boeing has reported record losses of nearly $12 billion for 2020 as a whole. Fourth quarter revenue was 15% lower than in 2019. It was dragged down in part by the decision to delay for a third time the launch of Boeing's 777X plane. That wide-body jet won't now enter service until late 2023. Internal problems have been compounded by the coronavirus pandemic, and the manufacturer has announced some 30,000 job cuts over the last year. Boeing shares tumbled around 3%. Well, that brings us to a look at the rest of the day's trading action. Boeing has been dragging down overall trade on Wall Street. We're seeing losses of over 1% across the board there. The Dow Jones shedding about 400 points. Microsoft has been bucking that negative trend. Its shares are up around 2% after reporting strong quarterly earnings. A negative close for the major European indices as well. We saw the CAC 40 down just over 1% here in Paris. London's FTSE 100 down 1.3%. Frankfurt DAX losing about 1.8%. Shares of the drug maker AstraZeneca have dropped just over 2% in London. The British-Swedish pharmaceutical giant is sparring with the European Union over delays to its deliveries of its COVID-19 vaccine, Brussels accusing it of breaching its contract. Talks to resolve that dispute are ongoing. The number of people seeking work in France dropped at the end of 2020, despite the second lockdown enforced in November. New data from the Labour Ministry confirmed the overall unemployment rate shot up by 7.5% earlier in the year before falling 2.7% in the final 3 months. Around 3.6 million people in mainland France were out of work at the end of last year. Some 2.5 million are underemployed. Analysts say job losses would have been far deeper if not for the government's paid furlough scheme. Bruno Maire has criticised the rollout of the EU's €750 billion coronavirus recovery fund. The French finance minister urged the bloc to overcome what he described as blockages in delivering much-needed funds to member states. France is on track to receive some €40 billion in subsidies from the plan, which was agreed in December after months of wrangling. The government is counting on that money to fund its own €100 billion stimulus plan. In an interview with the Financial Times, Le Maire said, "We didn't expend all that political capital only for the plan to be delayed for technocratic reasons. It is too slow and too complicated. We must now accelerate. Quite strong words coming from Bruno Le Maire there, Mark. And he's not alone. It's worth pointing out Germany's former finance minister, Wolfgang Schäuble, also saying that this situation shows that maybe some EU rules should in fact be adapted to allow things like this recovery fund to go more smoothly.
Kate, thank you very much indeed. Kate with the business there. Let's cross the